Hello, this is Dale Matthews, and Mike Jones is joining us tonight. Hello, Mike. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, how you doing? You got a money tree there.
Yes, I have. Yes, I have a money tree, and it says the cash box of public safety.
I wonder if those will grow hydroponically.
It's going to grow at our expense. Look, here's the point. The biggest amount of money that comes into the county, aside from property taxes, I believe, for the general fund and such things, is for the sheriff's department. There isn't any way that the county commissioners are going to want to give up half of 1%, as Cliff Thomason put it, for that kind of thing. And so they want their 10%. Here's a little clip that explains to you that they realize that they're under a lot of public scrutiny for this. That's one of the main reasons this last couple of levies failed. And is there some way that they can maybe at least appear as if that money's not coming out for the Board of County Commissioners?
Okay. You want me to play that now?
Yes, thank you. Please.
Okay, all right. Okay, I will.
On this ISF, because it's an issue of some concern. I mean, the BCC gets 17% of that ISF, but oftentimes the BCC is characterized.
I'm not so sure that's the right number. It's closer to 10.
Well, I thought it was 17.
No,
We get 17%? I don't think so.
it changes.
I mean, it changes, yes.
Yeah,
Every
whatever
year when you have the various.
Whatever the percentage is, it certainly is not 85%.
Right.
You know,
It probably varies between 10 and 15%.
yeah. So whatever the percentage is, let's use number 15%. That's the average. For the amount of confusion that is easily used or generated from that, is there not another way of listing, taking the BCC out of the ISF fosters?
Just put it in the general government.
And to somehow, well, then you brought up other issues there too. But I think those issues can be somehow looked at and solved or resolved in some way.
Well, the two issues that came to mind when Commissioner Heck asked the question was, why is the BCC included in the ISF? And ISF meaning the internal service funds, and the board does provide internal service to all the other departments. I mean, your actions and your efforts touch all the other departments within the county.
It comes down to the way our government is structured here. You wouldn't include the BCC in Jackson County and the ISF because they're not administrative, but you would include Danny Jordan,
Right.
and all of his staffing and elements in there. And I would very easily say that their percentage over there under an administrative form of government as opposed to a quasi-judicial administrative and policy, we aren't all in admin, but most of it. That's why we're in.
Some of your actions don't get billed to BCC admin, they get billed to general government.
It's considered a effort of the county as a whole and not specifically to the different departments. So the theory behind why BCC is part of ISF is, as we discussed, and really why you want to be part of the survey question too. Tie that back because you really do interact with all the departments. So two things out of that. First, the funding for the board then is allocated to all the departments by virtue of the internal service fund rate, which means that you are charging to Public Works, to the non-general fund departments, public health, community corrections, airports. So all those cost centers, if you were part of the general fund, then you would not be getting any support from Public Works, adult correction, buildings, safety, airports. So those, the full cost of the board would then be borne by the general fund, which leads to this next issue. If the general fund bore the full cost of the board, all else being equal, then we would have less money that we can transfer to public safety. So then you're getting into a situation where instead of being a percent of the ISF charge, the board would become a dollar for dollar reduction to public safety.
Hey, Mike, drop that lower third there, would you please, bud?
Start looking at how you would apply it.
There's a reason why it's it's not.
Okay, forget I ever brought it up. Forget it.
It's a good question, and it should be asked, and it should be looked at every so often, just like everything we do, really.
Well, it's a philosophical question whether or not those departments should have the stake in the administration, and if it's an admin fee, ISFE, call whatever, they should be paying for the full cost of it.
Yeah.
We are proportionate.
That is the easiest way to accomplish that task.
It is. And it's the way that we have designed our governmental business model.
It's the fairest way. Easiest is just to write a check out of general fund and not have to appropriate it every department. But it's the fairest way. It's the most accurate, and it's the most beneficial to the criminal justice system because there is more money available for them.
Well, it's also the easiest trackable aspect too. I mean, you know,
Everybody's
you don't have to go with all these lines of permutation.
And not put too fine a point on it, but think about how much time you spent on parks. Yeah. Fairgrounds. Fairgrounds. So, how much time you spend with the all the other, every department that you are liaison to, and then think about, okay, then you're not going to charge them at all for all the time you spent with their boards, their commissions, it's a fair way to allocate.
Sorry, I brought it up.
No,
it's a real question that we kind of never really addressed head on. We talk about it all. Other counties do it, blah, blah, blah. This is standard procedure. Those are actually irrelevant to the real point, which is the goal of this county is to provide as much general fund revenue to the criminal justice system as possible. So every opportunity that we can fairly allocate internal rates and administrative costs evenly, we're going to do.
Fairly, justifiably, defensively. All of those good words.
All of those good words.
There's a bunch of different places to go here.
Yeah. All of those good words, Mike. Let's repeat good, happy buzzwords.
Yeah. I got a question. How would they have less money to give to the sheriff if they were given it from the general fund as opposed to the ISF?
It's ridiculous. Almost nothing in this conversation made any sense.
Well, it sounds like they're almost trying to duck out of the ISF thing for them so that they can get a levy passed in the future. They're thinking, well, you know what? If these stupid citizens are so dumb that they think that the ISF is a problem, let's just eliminate that as a problem.
I think that you've come to a great conclusion, Mike. I believe that this conversation was the first shot in the next war to try to pass a levy. If you heard what they said, is there a way that we can look like we're not taking the BCC funds, the Board of County Commissioners funds, out of the pockets of the Sheriff's Department? I just had to put that little note up there. I really debated, should I just let them speak for themselves? And I had to put this up here because it was such a screaming question. Well, the goal of this government is to give all the money we can to public safety. You've got to be kidding me. They're telling each other this.
Yeah. Oh, really? That's amazing. Yes. If that was your goal, then what happened to the road dollars?
Well, and even
you had the opportunity to do that, and you didn't do it.
Well, okay, sorry, everybody. There's a little delay tonight. It's amazing. We do, as Mike pointed out, we're doing pretty good with the infrastructure over which we have no control at all. But, it's worth every dollar that we spend and getting on Google. Look, here, the point is.
That's right.
Yes,
our funders are cutting us big checks to cover this.
Like that lady says, I'm going to look into who does your funding. Oh, please let us know, please. Okay, so
Yes.
They're looking for a way that they can look better because they're getting trounced by this idea that they're skimming off 10%. Well, it's 15 to 10 and maybe it's 17. Oh no, I think it's, you know, the sheriff is not getting the money. And then they turn around and say, in this money, I know my point was, sorry, I got a little sidetracked there. By the perfidy of it all, I find them perforated. To say that, well, there it goes again. To say that, oh my gosh, what? That's ridiculous.
I'm waiting for that. Here, let me spur your brain a little bit. Okay.
Okay, I think I know where I was going with that. I'm so sorry. You know, after what is it, 210 shows?
Okay.
Okay, look, what they're saying here is that they take the money out of the ISF and they spend it on things like board travel and like membership in various organizations so that Simon Hare can go to, hey, I'm chair of the chair committee, that kind of stuff. And this is more important than public safety. Money comes in from the road dollars, which we used 2 years ago to bolster the safety of the system. Their answer to that is, look, we gave almost $500,000 to that, and it was a road to nowhere. What do you mean it's a bridge to nowhere? What do you mean bridge to nowhere? It didn't lead to a safety. It didn't lead to a levee. It didn't lead to a levee. There's your bridge to nowhere. Now they say, well, we're not going to spend road dollars like that. We could. New money comes in. This is really important. Other money comes in. This is timber money. This is forest money. This is wood money. Well, made out of wood anyway. And the money comes in and they don't want to spend that either. This is super important. This is not road dollars now that we're talking about. This is $1 million that they got that they had not anticipated getting. They didn't know they were going to get this, really. And they don't want to spend that either. That's going into the general fund. Super important point. Mike?
Yeah, I agree. And also, the where was my point here? now I'm derailed. No, yes. Hang on a second here. Okay, let's see here. I had wondered why they would have less money to give if it were in the general fund. Then they said that they basically were sort of hinting around that they wanted to take that money and leave it in the general fund. And then, of course, they'll just use it in the same way that they used the ISF money before. They'll just be drawing it out of the general fund instead of, drawing it out of the ISF. Now, the other thing is that they seem to be indicating that, well, there has to be some cost involved from the sheriff. The sheriff has to, bear some burden of the cost of the work that we are doing for them. All the time that the liaison spends dealing with them and all that. I thought, wow, that's amazing. When I know that Cheryl Walker barely even talks to him. She probably doesn't even have his phone number in her cell phone.
Well, this is why I could
somehow that's supposed to cost something.
Sorry again, everybody. There's a delay, and it's also affecting our brains, obviously. This is why I just had to put up that notice on the video, and you can see that video. We have it posted now, so you can see that separately from us talking about it. But here's the point is, Mike's quite right. We sat with the sheriff, and I said, when was the last time that your liaison called you? Oh, it's been quite a while. Why is he excited about having a liaison at all if she doesn't talk to him? And why would he be excited about, the airport? Well, don't forget about, the good things the airport gives you. What, flying criminals in or out? How does this benefit this guy? I understand public works, okay? They've got vehicles, okay? I got that. But parks? Why is this such a wonderful thing for the sheriff? I'm in favor of, I don't know, maybe we are in favor of, but I'm in favor of the idea of declaring a moratorium of taking the internal services funds automatically out of the sheriff. You say to him, as we've done, as I asked him, do you think that you could handle paper and toner and that kind of, well, yeah. So let him do that. He would buy it from the company store. He would get good prices from the county, but they wouldn't be taking out automatically. And the reason, again, and that's what this money tree is about, the biggest amount of money that comes out of anybody's department for the commissioners to join clubs and to do travel and get additional training and this kind of stuff. That's done us a lot of good. The huge elephant in the room is from public safety. And I ask you, Mike, to whom are they paying the least attention these days as far as funding them?
Yeah, public safety, for sure.
I rest my case.
Yes.
Okay. So we had promised you something else.
Wow, that's a heck of a delay.
Sorry about that. We had promised you what we were going to do tonight, and I'm going to call up another graphic. Well, this is really high tech here. You get to see me pulling up the graphic. Here is what we said that we would be talking about last weekend. We got so involved in something else that we missed our weekly Charter Chatter. Welcome to Charter Chatter, everybody. Hello, Mike.
Hey.
Wow, that's a real long delay.
It's Charter Chatter time.
Yes, what this is supposed to indicate.
It's really, really bad. It's
okay. We're going to live. And so we probably won't be doing that, going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth thing with the charter. We'll probably read long sections of that. Anyway, what this is supposed to be is some kind of graphic. So it wouldn't be exactly the same thing as last time. You know, those things, I don't even know what they're called. You stick them in the ground next to the plants and it reminds you this is a rose, this is a rutabaga, so that you don't end up eating the wrong thing. Well, that's what these ladies are chattering. They're now those. What do you call those things? Planter indicators? I don't think so. They got to have a name. Surely the French have a name.
Okay.
Okay. Well, anyway.
Yes, I'm sure they do.
So Mike is going to start off with section 29.8, and Mike, just for because there's such a long delay, why don't you go ahead and tell them all about 29.8, and then I'll tell them about 29.9 of the charter.
Okay. 29.8, speech and religion. Intent. The intent of this charter amendment is to provide the citizens of Josephine County with local protection of one of their inalienable rights as originally defined by our founding fathers in the U.S. Constitution and Bill of Rights. And we've all seen this before. This is after every single one of these amendments. It basically is trying to clarify what the intent is just basically to mirror, in this particular case, the First Amendment. So section 1, the following provision shall be adopted into the Josephine County Home Rule Charter and shall govern all actions by individuals and organizations, both public and private, within Josephine County. No governmental law or regulation shall be made or enforced respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or of the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Well, we know they don't like that. And let's see here. Definition. Josephine County government officials that are petitioned for a redress of grievances shall be required to respond within 5 days.
Good luck with that.
To resolve the problem in question within 60 days. Yeah. So yes, as Dale mentioned, good luck with that. So section 2, no elected or appointed officials of Josephine County shall pass or enforce any law, ordinance, resolution, administrative rule, or statute that denies or erodes any of the provisions of this charter amendment. Where any current law, ordinance, resolution, administrative rule, or statute within or outside of Josephine County may be interpreted to deny or erode any of the provisions of this charter amendment, that interpretation is void and is not to be enforced within Josephine County by any individual, group, or federal, state, or local governmental body or agency. Now, that is what it's basically saying is they don't care what other people say outside in whether it's state or federal. If anybody comes in trying to deny any part of the basically what is your First Amendment rights, then it's not going to be enforced in Josephine County. Local protection, it means somebody's going to step in and say, sorry, you can't do that to this person. They have these rights. We affirm it in our charter. There you go. So Section 3, no changes or abridgments of any of the provisions of this charter amendment shall be made or enforced by any entity acting within Josephine County or upon individuals within Josephine County without a 2/3 majority vote of the voters of Josephine County in acceptance. So you can't mess with this amendment except by a 2/3 vote of the voter, not even 50%, 2/3. That should be local protection. We should feel some
somewhat. Oh, well, we should feel some. And then Mike drops out. So much for his First Amendment rights. So the point I think he was saying, we should feel some protection from all this. And there have been many times in big issues and small where we as citizens have asked questions of the county government. When are you going to tell us about this? What about this law that you just passed without talking to us about? Where's the documentation for this? We would like to know what happened to this apparently stolen equipment, $11,000 worth of equipment, just simply missing. It's got tags on it. It says Josephine County on it. What happened to that? Even the sheriff trying to get Cheryl Walker to tell him what happened to this equipment, that's doing absolutely no good. I don't know where it is. I don't know where it is. And so that's why I appreciate Mike Jones so much. So you can send your he's back now, you see. You can send your checks to us, courtesy of Mike Jones, who we still can't hear him. He doesn't hear this joke, and it's not making any sense, any difference to him. Well, so
of the Josephine County courts or by some other mediator.
Anything else? Anything else to add to that, Mike?
Well, there's this, the miscellaneous section here. If you care for me to read the whole thing.
No, not the miscellaneous section.
You have anything to interject here?
Yeah, this whole idea of by the charter, which the commissioners swore to uphold. Don't point at me. By the charter.
Yes.
They have agreed that they're going to follow this rule. One of the rules is that when we ask them a question, that they're required to answer us within 5 days. Brother, something's going to freeze over before they give us any answers at all about most things these days. This hasn't always been the case. What the heck is going on with these three commissioners that they just feel so mighty that they don't need? They're supposed to represent us, and I say that they don't.
Well, no, I agree, but I think that because of who we're dealing with here, it might be appropriate to cut and paste this portion of the charter into your email, saying that, understand here, you are charged by the charter to respond, to give redress of grievance here by responding to people's grievances, and yet, they usually answer if they want to, or if it's not too hard.
Well, it's rather disconcerting. We're going to continue asking them the questions, but the fact that we just asked them, as we've mentioned to you on the show before, Cheryl Walker said simply filing a request for information is intimidating.
Yes. Right. Yes. In other words, she'd just rather that you didn't have the right to redress of grievances. So, would you please stop doing that? It's very intimidating.
Okay. Well, the next one is, I get nudity. Yes, I do.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and you're always guilty of that. See what you're seeing here is you're seeing Dale in his shirt, but you're not seeing what's going on below that.
Oh,
and
please.
just ask the people in his little apartment complex there. They'll tell you all about it.
Yeah, well, I will admit the truth about all this is that if you were to look under all of my clothes, this is probably the case with most of our viewers.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So
yes.
Now this next section is about restricting nudity. Apparently, someone got a real bug somewhere and said, well, we just really need to do something about this. So,
well, back in the 60s there, people were kind of crazy and they thought, hey, you never know when them hip eyes are going to be coming around again. So let's head them off at the pass. And so when they start doing their LSD and stuff like that and start being naked in the streets, we can arrest them.
Well, we know that Mark Gatlin was the bouncer in a topless bar in town. And
there you go.
And now he's very much more moral sounding than ever before, and he doesn't like the fact that it's been brought up a couple of times by people in the audience of the city council, and he goes and he has a talk with them. Do you really need to bring that up? You're a politician.
Yes, stop doing that, Dale.
I never have. Anyway, this one's called restrict nudity, and this is how far they were willing to go with this. Okay, and some people feel very strongly about it. Good for you. Any person wishing to establish in Josephine County a business that will engage in any activity such as a topless or nude bar, or as a center of entertainment established for the purpose of the display of human nudity, as commonly defined and understood for that purpose, whatever that means, because what if you had a place where it was bikini car wash? Okay, but we're going to leave that aside for right now. As a function of the operation of the business shall, 1, be required to post, are you ready? A $10 million bond.
Yeah.
For the duration, a $10 million bond for the duration of the operation of said business with the County of Josephine to ensure protection to the county, the population in general, and the business involved from incidents that might result from the operation of said business.
Mm-hmm.
What, like a rash? This will provide security from liability to that business, the public, and the County of Josephine from any such unforeseen occurrence.
Yes.
Number 2, provide a distance of at least 2 miles between said place of business and any publicly or privately owned building or gathering place commonly used by citizens of the community as a place for meetings, receptions, etc. Well, that's everywhere.
Yes, of course it is. That's the whole point.
Such places shall include, but not be limited to. Now, this is the part that justifies that, but that's not what it says. Any publicly or privately owned building or gathering place. Okay? This shall include, let's bring in the children, daycare centers, playgrounds where children play, yeah, churches, parks, public halls, or buildings made available to the public by the government for any of these purposes, either free or on a rental or lease basis. Hospitals, you certainly can't have nudity near a hospital. That would be awful, despite the fact that they make you wear those weird gowns. Police or sheriff
but that's
stations.
not nudity.
Well, it depends on how you wear it, I suppose. I put it on the way they say to. Retirement centers, nursing homes. Oh, the palpitations. Sorry, I shouldn't make light of this. Okay, it's in the charter. And places used for the administration of public affairs or government operations, such as courthouses or city or county government administrative buildings. The county is making a rule about city buildings? I didn't see that before. This amendment shall become effective immediately on approval by the voters of Josephine County, which they did. If a part of this amendment is invalid, all parts that are severable from the invalid part shall remain in effect. Oh, really? Now, this is different. Let me say that again. If a part of this amendment is invalid, all parts that are severable from the invalid part shall remain in effect. If a part of this amendment is invalid in one or more of its applications, oh, they were looking forward to something, that part remains in effect in all valid applications that are severable from the invalid applications. That's a little repetitive, but yeah, I think that they were anticipating that there could be somebody that say, you know, what do you think you're doing? You can't do this law, okay? But it was passed by the voters. Next, well, I got the nudity. It's Mike that gets the parents and the children. Whew, lucky me.
Okay. 29.10, parents and children. Intent. The intent of this charter amendment is to preserve the natural rights and authority that parents or guardians have over their minor children. Should never be violated by any government body or entity acting on behalf of the government. Well, this is a little different in the intent box. Here's the odd thing about that is that they can somehow give consent for your child to go down and have an abortion, but maybe if that ever becomes an issue here in Josephine County, people can point to 29.10 here. Section 1, the following provision shall be adopted into the Josephine County Home Rule Charter and shall govern all actions by individuals and organizations, both public and private, within Josephine County. Number 1, to protect the minor children's health and well-being, parents or guardians have the natural right, if they so choose, to refuse immunizations for their minor children. Boy, this would be news to the people that are heavy into refusing immunizations on religious grounds or grounds that they think that they may cause autism, which I think has been disproven. But here's some grounds, choke up the courts with this kind of stuff. So anyway, to protect minor children's health and well-being, parents or guardians have the natural right, if they so choose, to refuse immunizations for their minor children. If they feel immunizations contain harmful side effects or chemicals, or if it conflicts with their religious beliefs, parents or guardians have the natural right to teach their children moral values of their choosing, religious values, education, whether they choose public, private, or homeschooling, and disciplining. Wow. I mean, this, you don't see this kind of stuff, in government, especially, state government and stuff. Here, local, I think it's even unusual on a local level to see this kind of thing.
This thing about disciplining, boy, that's
probably has a wide interpretation.
Yeah, because that's not going to happen anymore these days. It seems like you don't have the right to even spank your child. And maybe there's people there. I know there are people who say, "Hooray for that." However, there are other people saying, "Hey, wait a minute. Um, I have a natural right to discipline my child."
Right. Yeah. Anyway, so this charter amendment should not be misconstrued to protect felonious or misdemeanor child abusers as defined by state law. The intent is to protect law-abiding parents and guardians. Felonious or misdemeanor child abuse, as defined by state law, would still be a felony and a misdemeanor. If a parent is accused of or sued for child abuse, their right to a jury trial shall not be denied. 2, the Board of County Commissioners must provide in layman's terms a definition of what constitutes misdemeanor child abuse and what does not. And that definition and the definition of what misdemeanor child abuse is and is not must be made available to all Josephine County citizens upon request within 30 days of the passage of this charter amendment without any charge or prejudice. Wow. I'm tempted to go ask them about this. They're probably going to go, what?
Hey, Mike,
because this is the kind of stuff that, yes.
Tell them they have 5 days to respond.
Yes, Dale.
Tell them they have 5 days to respond.
Yes.
It's part of the charter.
Okay.
Sorry about the delay.
I'll tell them that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. The purpose of this action is so parents or guardians of minor children will not be lawbreakers. Well, and that's certainly interesting. Okay. Upon passage of this charter amendment, Josephine County Board of Commissioners are solely responsible to see that this charter amendment is fully complied with, that no entity or entity acting on behalf of government or, and there's more, any government body is to violate this charter amendment. If any outside body is to impose any laws which will take parental rights away or violate this charter amendment, the Josephine County Board of Commissioners must, within 30 days, put 3 half-page ads in at least 2 major newspapers, 5 to 7 days apart, to alert parents and citizens in this county of any law that may violate this charter amendment. Wow. There's some dynamite in this particular portion of the charter, people. Okay. Put 3 half-page ads in at least 2 major newspapers, 5 to 7 days. Okay. Run a minimum of 15 one-minute commercials on 3 different radio stations to alert parents and citizens in this county of any law that may violate this charter amendment. Wow. Okay. And then let's see here. Section 2. No elected or appointed officials of Josephine County shall pass or enforce any law, ordinance, resolution, administrative rule, or statute that denies or erodes any of the provisions of this charter amendment. This is some of the boilerplate we've seen before. Where any current law, ordinance, resolution, or administrative rule or statute within or outside Josephine County may be interpreted to deny or erode any of the provisions of this charter amendment, that interpretation is void and is not to be enforced within Josephine County by any individual, group, or federal, state, or local governmental body or agency. Okay, no charges, Section 3, no charges or abridgments of any of the provisions of this charter amendment shall be made or enforced by any entity acting within Josephine County or upon individuals within Josephine County without a 2/3 majority vote of the voters of Josephine County in acceptance. Section 4. The Josephine County Board of Commissioners and the Josephine County District Attorney must enforce all of the provisions of this charter amendment. This enforcement must include citing persons charged with violating this charter amendment by issuing a Class B misdemeanor citation. No person shall be immune from such citation, regardless of any personal or official capacity, whatever. Judicial proceedings regarding such citation shall follow the same as in the issuance of any other misdemeanor citation. This is the same boilerplate that you see after many of these amendments. And Section 5 looks pretty much the same way too.
All right, I'm going to talk a little bit. I'm going to talk a little bit. I'm going to
more of
talk.
it.
I just think I am. I'm going to talk a little bit.
Go ahead. Yes, if you can.
While Mike brings up the annotations. The annotations are really important. Look, here's the point about annotations. There have been a number of times when the county has insisted you can't have that. We told you you couldn't, and they actually went to court against the citizens, and we told you about that before, and got certain things overturned. They did it on their own initiative, really, despite the fact that it takes this huge vote to get this stuff in. So now Mike is going to bring up a page that I'm going to start reading from about some of the. I'll read what Steve Rich said, and then you read the first case, and I'll read the next case, and we'll go on like that. Okay, Mike? Okay. So,
okay, sure.
One of the things that you see here is here's Steve Rich, and he is explaining why he's involved in this. He wrote this 10 years ago. He was about halfway through his term of 20 years. He says, the board has asked me to annotate provisions of the county charter that have been clarified, modified, or declared to be void by court decisions. All that careful talk, by the way, this is not him speaking, this is me now. All that careful talk about you can't change this, you can't do that. If you try to, you're guilty of a misdemeanor. That doesn't matter. This is Steve Rich weighing in on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners. Court decisions addressing other local government charters are included as well. Also, I have commented on other charter provisions that are problematic due to other judicial, substantive determinations or rules of interpretation and construction. The Josephine County Charter sections subject to specific legal definitions and my comments regarding sections not having been subject to legal review are stated separately below. We're going to go through as many of these as we can in the time that we have. Mike, why don't you read county debt limitations from section 14.7, sir?
Okay, county debt limitation, and looks like this was in Terry versus Multnomah County, 279, Oregon 127 in 1977, and Cole versus Baker, 82, something or other than numbers. It doesn't mean anything anyway. The court clarified debt is defined as liabilities in excess of assets. Therefore, the $5,000 debt limitation of the charter is $5,000 of liability above Josephine County's net asset value. Further, the retroactive provisions would violate federal and state constitutional prohibitions against impairment of contract. See also Dartmouth College versus Woodward. I personally think they went on a fishing expedition here looking for ways to torpedo things they didn't like. So anyway, here we are, section 25 compensation there.
Okay, wait just a second. When they referred to Dartmouth College versus Woodward, that's a case from 1819. The year 1819.
Yes, nice.
Okay. Now, you're going to be interested in this. Oh, this isn't boring. No, it's not. And here's why. Compensation. In Hudson versus Fader, Josephine County Circuit Course case, blah, blah, said that compensation, this is executive compensation. These are payments to the county commissioners, where it says $30,000. That's all. That's in the charter. Was an administrative matter and not a legislative matter, meaning that you have no say over this, according to that case in 1978. No. In 1990. The compensation was an administrative matter and not a legislative matter, so you can't do anything about it. And as an administrative matter, it's completely up to the county commissioners. It wasn't appropriate for amendment by initiative. So, isn't that sweet?
Boy, I'll tell you.
And that case,
yeah,
we talked to legal counsel about this.
Yeah.
We talked to our new legal counsel about it. Was reaffirmed by Lane County Transit versus Lane County in 1998. There's your transit case that our new legal counsel was talking to us about. So why don't we go right on to the next one, which is about due process and compensation, Mike.
Okay, section 29.2, and they're just systematically going through the charter and chunking these. So, everything that we just told you about, just forget all about it. It doesn't mean anything. Section 29.2, due process and compensation. Let's see here. In state of Oregon versus Josephine County. Wow. Well, there's relevance for you. A Josephine County Circuit Court case, blah, 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 determined that this charter section violated the state and federal constitutions and was superseded by state statute and was void. I wonder if this has anything to do with the case that Steve Rich brought, and there were no, the other side didn't show up, so they won by default. I wonder.
Well, this says due process.
29.4. Search and
hey, that's
seizure.
mine. That's mine. We're going back.
No, I'm handing it to you. I'm going, there you go.
Okay. Sorry. It's the delay.
Yes.
Search and seizure. The Oregon Court of Appeals in State versus Logsdon in the year 2000 determined that this charter section, search and seizure, was invalid. You can't protect people against search and seizure. What's the matter with you, Mike? As well beyond any matter that legitimately may be regarded as a local concern because it attempted to control and or direct federal and state officials, as well as alter jurisdiction and authority of the courts. You can't tell us what we can search and seize. Okay.
Yeah, you know what? I'm telling you, this part here, that's very, very important. That's very, very important. And they're basically telling you, all that home rule stuff that you're talking about, it's all BS. Just forget all about it. You don't have any of that stuff. It's all negated. Just forget it.
Here's the thing.
We are the rulers. Shut up and bend over.
No, here's the thing. Oh, wow. Okay, I don't know about that part, but here's the thing that I believe would make a difference. And that is if we had at least two commissioners that were in there that said, you know what, we took an oath to the charter. And if somebody comes in here and says, your charter isn't worth anything, we're still going to enforce it. We're still going to live by that. We're still going to be, because this is what you wanted. We're going to be paid $30,000. And it doesn't matter whose palms were greased or deals were made or nothing. It was just purely benign. It doesn't matter to us. We're going to live by those provisions of the charter. We can act like at all times as if we meant what we said when we said that we were going to obey the charter. They could do that. Now, Mike's going to read to you about the Larry Lacey case. You know where this came from, about the topless bar. This is where Mark Gatlin was involved with Larry Lacey, and, Larry Lacey was doing business, and they actually took, as I understand it, the city actually redefined a place that was near his business, called it a park after he established his business, and said, you got to move out because now there's a park near you. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, that's right. So in Josephine County versus Lacey, Josephine County Circuit Court, number blah, 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 determined that the charter amendment adopted by initiative was unconstitutional under state and federal constitutions, and the amendment was void in its entirety. This rationale was followed under state constitutional analysis in State versus CN Kennelly or something. City of Nysa versus Dulfloff. What are we dealing with foreign law here or something? What the heck, man? Okay,
Hey, Mike, come on back, come back on camera, bud, would you? Okay, so we'll try to see if we can kind of wrap this up here. We have been taking a look at the charter because I believe that it is the contention from both of us that if you don't know what the charter says, what are you doing in county government, really? Or what are you doing in a leadership role in county government? You really do need to know what your rights are or what the citizens want your rights to be. And I believe, and I think Mike believes, that we should insist that if you're going to take an oath, if you're going to say, I'm going to do this, if you're going to crow about the fact that we have a county charter, then by gosh, you ought to get in there and defend that county charter. Mike?
Yeah. You know what? It's a big problem that they don't, they have very little knowledge of the charter. And then also another big problem is these annotations of the charter totally nukes the charter. As I'm scrolling down here, they get to the right to the bear arms, talking about how, that's nuked by this, that, or the other thing. More due process stuff, and they go right on down the line. They basically have got the whole thing nuked. It's just because they don't want to be held to the charter. And so probably they were Steve Rich was charged by the current county council or the current board of county commissioners to go punch holes in the charter, because we don't want to have the charter thrown in our face anymore.
Well, that would cause a problem for the county commissioners.
We might as well not even have a charter.
It would cause a problem for the county commissioners because this thing is not just a sheaf of papers. It represents what the people put by initiative in their charter. That means then that the county commissioners would have to answer to the people. Right. Could it be more clear than this? And they didn't like that, and they assigned Steve Rich over his tenure to go through, and the rest of it is Steve Rich's his own notes about concerns that he has over what the people want. This guy was elected, and he's got these concerns. Those aren't court cases. Those are just some of his musings about whether we should be allowed to live by the Second Amendment, or should this other thing be happening, or what about this thing about fees, or what about he just had these various concerns. The thing that we need to watch for, then Mike's going to sum this up, and then we're going to say goodnight. The thing that we need to watch for is be very, very careful that this current Board of County Commissioners, not every board, come on, we've always got someone that's a lunkhead, but not all three of them at once. This Board of County Commissioners, we don't want them fiddling around with our charter. That's essential to me. Mike?
Yeah.
Well, Mike may have been cut off by that just at the moment where he was going to say something really important. So instead, I'm going to say something which could never be quite as important as what he had in mind, but I'll do my best to say goodnight to you. And as they used to say in 50s news, good night and good luck.